Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco dishing out on movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. I am here to review another Lillian Gish movie. And you know what's funny? It happened again where the movie that I chose, it was not available. I could not find it to watch for free. And it's really weird because this actress, she's popular as hell. She's one of the best actresses of all time objectively because she's in so many Hallmark movies. Like, not Hallmark as in shitty sugar cookie movies for old women and housewives, but like Hallmark movies that matter. She is in so many movies that are important, and she has these big roles, and she is a important actress. I mean, if I were to write a book called Which Actresses Should You Admire Before You Die, like they have the 1001 movies you should watch before you die, I would make an actress book and then say number 10, let's say Lillian Gish, because she's in so many. But the thing is that her movies, they're hard to find. Like, some of them, they're easy. I can just find them on YouTube. Like, I'll tell you guys this. I've watched every single one of her movies for free on YouTube. Birth of a Nation, check. Orphans of the Storm, oh God, check. Duel in the Sun, check. Portrait of Jennie, check. But for some reason, the movie, one of the movies she's most known for, I cannot find it to watch anywhere unless I buy a DVD for $20. Like, it is a rare movie. But then I wanted to watch The Spiral Staircase. I couldn't find that to watch. So, you know what I did? I said, I'm going back in time, or I'm not going back anywhere. What am I talking about? I'm just staying in the 1940s decade, unfortunately, because Spiral Staircase, I think, was in the 60s or 50s, and I wanted to watch that so that I could get, some from each decade that she's in movies, not so that I'm not just okay, I'm in one decade for 5 movies. I couldn't find it, and so I saw that Duel in the Sun, and I saw Jennifer Jones, that sexy, curvy Jennifer Jones with that hair, that curly hair, and those eyes, those pretty little eyes, and those sharp, piercing eyebrows, and that nose, that perfect little nose, and those lips, those full red lips, and those cheeks, those beautiful big cheeks, and that figure, that curvy, voluptuous, oh yeah, Jennifer Jones. So I said, I want to watch a Jennifer Jones film. Another one, that is, because honestly, Duel in the Sun, it made her look really good and really bad at the same time. She seemed like she had a multiple personality disorder, and she made terrible decisions, but she was pretty badass at the end of that movie. That is probably one of the best, if you want to talk about female fights, female heroes doing something, that is probably one of the most badass things, where she is dressed all in black and she has a duel with fucking Gregory Peck in the middle of nowhere in the Wild West. How could you not love that? How could you say that's bad? That's a bad movie. That is just perfection. But the thing is, The one thing I said about the movie was, this is kind of sad. Like, Jennifer Jones, she doesn't get to end up with Joseph Cotten. Joseph Cotten, he was pretty smart in that movie because he saw that bitch. I mean, for some reason, Gregory Peck came in the room and he sexually assaulted Jennifer, and she was getting into it. And then she had sex with him, I guess. And Joseph Cotten did not like that. And he said, okay, this bitch is a hooker. This bitch is a whore. And so I'm just going to go run off and marry some other bitch. And he did. And he married some generic white bread biatch. And meanwhile, Jennifer Jones, she got to die in the middle of the West with Gregory Peck, with blood dripping all over the place, and her all clothes all dirty. She had to crawl through the dirt. What a terrible ending for her. But the thing is that it's sad she didn't get with Joseph Cotten, because the movie kind of failed on its premise. In a way, because the whole movie advertised itself as she's got a fight between her urge to marry one guy versus the other. But then he leaves the movie, and that's it. He gets married to someone else, and that's it. And the only reason she fights with Gregory at the end is because she's sad and upset that he won't take her. Like, she was offering to run off to Mexico with him after he's a murderer. Like, God, she was bad. Her character was trash. She was like trash. And so I really wanted to see a movie where I guess she gets with Joseph Cotten. And then it's funny, and she never got with Joseph Cotten in that movie. But then it's funny because I watched this movie, Portrait of Jennie, and and guess what? She doesn't even get with Joseph Cotten in this movie. It's called The Portrait of Jennie. It's all about Jennie and Joseph Cotten, and he doesn't get to pick any of her cotton. I mean, he doesn't, and you know what I mean by cotton, okay? I mean, I bet she had some soft cotton, okay? And he didn't get to pick any of it. Joseph Cotten didn't get to pick any of Jennifer Jones's cotton, and I got a problem with that, because this movie, I like this movie a lot. I fucking love it. Okay, but that is the one issue. I mean, he never gets with her ever. Ever, ever, ever. And he deserved it. I mean, did you see how suffering he was suffering his ass off? He was a starving artist in the 30s. He was starving. He was living in a tenement building with these weird old people who just felt sorry for him. He was one bad day away from sleeping on the streets and sucking off crack dealers for a sandwich at Subway. He was one day away from being homeless. He was he was looking in the park. I mean, guys, have you ever heard of what was that murder called? That famous murder in the park? The Central Park 5, the Jackson 5 men, the Street 5 crew, that one murder where that poor woman, she was like running or something, and then she got killed by a guy and raped and shit, and then they blamed it on the 5 black kids. This Joseph Cotten, he was starving. He was walking around the park with his portfolio. He's always taking his portfolio around. He's probably got some sort of a disorder in his arm, because he's always got his arm out, because he's holding this giant ass portfolio full of papers and worthless paintings that no one even wants to buy except for an old woman who just buys it to be nice to him. And he is starving, and he's looking around this park for food. He's looking at the benches seeing, hey, is there a piece of trash on the bench with a little slice of bologna in it that I could scrape up and shove down my gullet so that I don't die tomorrow? Like, he is suffering. He is crying for help. He doesn't have any love. He doesn't have any family. He's got a friend who's kind of nice, but he's got nothing. He's in pain. Joseph Cotton is punished. I mean, it's funny because when people talk about Joseph Cotton, they act like he's just the generic, normal, everyday guy. Like, Joseph Cotton, he is the everyday sad sack. I mean, he's a sad little boy. Okay, he is just walking around crying without even crying. He is asking for help. He's just walking into random buildings and stores saying, hey, do you want to look at my art? You want to look at my sad art? You want to look at my dark arts? Do you want to buy something from me? Because I am starving as hell. But you know what was more important? And so there was this really nice little scene. I love movies from the 40s, the 50s, the 30s, the 60s, the 70s. Because you know what? I would go back to this year, the year this came out, 1948, and I would pay money to watch every single movie all over again in theaters. It only cost like 30-something cents back then. I would be willing to pay every single cent. That is how much the movies from this time are worth to me. And that is how worthless the movies have become today. Because today, I mean, let's just be honest. I have seen 10 movies from this year already. New movies. The new, shiny studio movies that are just, oh yeah. They're the new movies that, everyone's aching to see. And have little spoiler discussions. And you know what? Only one of those movies I would have been willing to pay for. You know what it was? Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But even then, that movie pales in comparison to this movie. That movie is like a piece of insignificant shit compared to the Portrait of Jennie. Okay, I mean, this movie is special. Every movie that fucking came out from back then is special. Like, you really got everything you paid for when you watch movies from back then. Like, it's so sad. I mean, these studios loved you. These people in the movies, people act like, oh, back then they were just legends, they were just icons, nobody really knew them, and they were all mysterious. But no, these people liked you because they were you, and then they became the big stars, the big leagues. They went to that place after they were like you and like me. And so that is why movies were great back then. Nowadays, everyone is already in the big leagues. Okay, you got this bitch. Well, I'm not going to shit on her because she's cute. I'm not going to shit on her. But you got all these people. They have nothing. They don't deserve anything, but they're given everything. And including the studios. Because the studios, I'm not going to do rants about studios again. But it just shows, like, the quality difference. There is a clear quality difference between movies from back then versus movies from now. And you could use this movie as a prime example. And I will argue this movie against any movie that came out from this year, any movie that came out from last year, any movie that came out in the past 20 years, I will argue, pales in comparison to this masterpiece. Not like this is the greatest movie of all time, but this is a damn good movie. And it all started out, you got Joseph Sad Sack Cotton. He probably can't even get erect because he is so sad. He probably dreams that one day he will be able to have sex again. He will be able, and he's probably never had it because he's so sad. I mean, he's so sad. He is crying all the time. And he goes to these old people, and the guy, he doesn't want any of his paintings. But then the old woman, she kind of lets him sit down, because that's another thing. He never sits down. This guy just walks and walks and walks because he's so sad. And sad people aren't allowed to sit down and rest. Sad people have to just walk until they're dead. Like slaves, just walking and walking and walking and walking. Slaves to the establishment. Slaves to their art. Because their art isn't appreciated by the right people. And he's just walking and walking. And this old woman, she takes pity on him. And I really like that scene because she didn't fix him the whole movie. You know, he was still sad sack, little Joseph Cotton crybaby. I mean, guys, he is more of a crybaby than crybaby Sarah Paulson herself. That is, I mean, he never even cries in the movie, but that is how sad he is. That should tell you something. But it was such a nice little scene, the fact that, you know, just to be nice, you know, she liked it, but she was investing in him. And she was giving him something nice, giving him something to help pay the rent and get food and live. And she invested a little tiny piece of herself in him. And that is when all the magic happened. And it's a nice message for people. Because nowadays, I wouldn't invest in shit. You give me fucking, that little fucking twerp Tom Holland. He comes over to my house and says, "Hey, Marco, it's me, Tom Holland. I want to make Spider-Man versus Iron Man Jr. I mean, Riri Williams, the token Iron Man. Will you help me fund it? Will you join me in this investment?" You know what I'd say? Get the hell out of here, you little preschooler. Get the hell out of here right now. We gotta make art. And you're not making art, you're making shit. That's what I would do. And I would never invest in the twerps of today. I would never invest in the filmmakers of today because they pale in comparison to the artists from back then. It just shows with this movie. I mean, come on. But the thing is that she gave that investment. She is the one, not Jenny. Not Jenny. Because Jenny comes, we'll talk... Well, she never does that, but she does come in the movie. She does come into the picture, is what I mean. She just, but that old woman, that nice old woman, it's not Jenny who started his path to success. It is that old woman who invested in him. It's that old woman who said, "I don't really like any of these shitty sad sack Joseph Cotton fucking paintings that look like, you know, they got tears all over them. They got spursums all over them because he's so sad. His paintings are so sad. It's like, oh, there's a sad landscape. There's a sad place. There's a sad building." I mean, guys, spoiler alert. One of his paintings, this guy is so sad. He painted a picture of the place of his wife's death before he even met her. I mean, that is how sad this guy is. He painted the place his soulmate dies before he even met her. Joseph Cotton. Okay, so I really love that opening scene where she is the one who invests in him, and guys, he is he is so sad. And you know what? She had a good point, because she said, you know what you need? You need love. I can tell when people don't make things with love. I can tell. These paintings, they're not made with love. You need someone to love you. And that's when he is in the park, and he is seconds away from getting molested, robbed, stabbed, shot, fucking, I don't know. Back then, it was probably, way scarier, got fucking, Jack the Ripper and shit. And he's walking around, and he finds a sandwich wrapped inside of a scarf, a sandwich, and he picks it up, and Jennifer Jones yells, "Hey, that's my sandwich!" And he's like, oh shit. And all of a sudden, Joseph Cotton, okay, let's talk about Joseph Cotton meets a little girl. He meets a little girl in the park who is building like a snowman, and she's like, "Hey, mister, I'm, Jennie Applebottom. Jennie Appleton, and, let's talk." And she's like, and she comes up to him, and they have a conversation, and it's funny, because there's a huge plot hole with that, which I'll talk about, that makes it even funnier. But she talks to him, and she has fun with them, and they just hang out in the park. And then all of a sudden, she's like, "I want to play a game, mister." And she swings around 3 times, closing her eyes, and then she says, "I wish that I could grow up and be with you forever." And it's like, oh shit. Oh fuck. Like, Joseph Cotton, like, he is full on pedophile in this movie, because he's like, "Oh really, Jennie? Oh, Jennie, oh wow, really?" And they hug and everything, but it is cute, because obviously, I don't, it was weird. It was such a weird, it was like the Twilight Zone. This whole movie was off. It was just, the whole movie, it was like, this is so cool. Like, there's nothing, like, when you think movies back then were just like Hollywood shit, but you look at this movie, it was so eerie and so haunting that normal logic doesn't come into this, because you're just enjoying the ride. And so she says she wishes she can grow up and be with him, and then she actually leaves the sandwich and the scarf for him. And he eats the sandwich because he's fucking starving, and he's sad too. But what's weird, okay, I'll talk about that later. And then throughout the movie, he's basically, he does a picture of her, a charcoal sketch, which that was a nice little sketch. And that let the old lady know, oh shit, Joseph, you have found your soulmate in this little girl, and you gotta learn all about her, and you gotta learn all about her so that you can paint a portrait of her, paint a portrait. And it's like, it's so weird. It's so weird. It's like, God, if the people, like, guys, just imagine if the people who complained about Licorice Pizza saw this movie, they'd probably have a heart attack and die, because that is how, and I love that, because it's like, see, this is a movie. It's a movie. And it's actually a really, like, sad story if you think about it, because, well, and if you could also make some arguments that would kind of go, it's really weird. It's just really, really weird. Like, this is the only circumstance, it's so weird. But he starts getting work, he gets a mural He gets to paint a mural for a place, like a cool little mural, and he doesn't really care about it, but it's good money, and he gets commissions. But the one thing he's focused on is painting Jennie, because he thinks, wait a second, this is my chance. I might only ever paint one good painting my entire life. Jennie Appleton is the chance. Apple Cracker Barrel Jennie, she is the chance. I gotta paint a portrait of her. And so, but he keeps on meeting her, and she's like aged multiple years every time they meet, and it's so weird. It is so fucking weird. And I thought either this bitch is a ghost, or she is a grown woman who thinks that she is a ghost or something. And I actually, I don't know. And so they keep on meeting, and finally she's of age. And it's so funny because it's just conveniently that when she's of age that he finally gets to paint her. And then he's ready to be with her. He's ready to hook up with her and get married to her. And there's this thing about her parents died, but she had to go to a convent. And she keeps on making all these excuses for why she can't be with him. And there's one last excuse that is a pretty damn good excuse, because it ends up being a fucked up excuse, that's for sure. But a sad excuse, too. And this movie's just so weird. It's so awesome, though. It's so fucking awesome. It's like, no one would ever make this movie except for David Selznick. Like, that's why these movies are so good, because no one else would ever make them. And so he paints the portrait, and obviously it's a fucking masterpiece. Obviously it would have been a masterpiece with Jennie Appleton involved. And it's just really weird. Like, he goes to the convent to see her like graduate, but then he's like standing there watching all these little girls go into the convent, and then she runs out, and she's like, hey, what was his name? Eben. And Eben's a weird name too, a weird name for a weird dude. I mean, that is a sad sack name, Eben. And he's just so in love with her, and he finishes the painting, but she has one last excuse, and that is that her aunt is sick now, and so she is demanding that she stay with her for the summer to take care of her. And it's sad, because by doing that, she inadvertently killed her niece. And so Jennie, she has to go stay with her aunt for the summer, and I knew that she's not coming back. Because every time she looks at this lighthouse, she gets upset, and it's because the lighthouse is where she fucking died years and years ago, which is just so weird, the fact that he painted that. It's like he predicted that, even though he didn't even know her when it happened. So then she leaves, and he's like, I gotta find... he is just starving. Like, guys, he is starving for ghost pussy, because he goes to the lighthouse, and he gets a boat, sails there himself in the middle of a storm, and then a tsunami comes, and I'm not kidding, guys. Literally, the whole picture turns Hulk chocolate syrup green. Like, remember that Incredible Hulk chocolate syrup that was green chocolate syrup? Literally, there's like all these green Hulk syrup waves, and everything is green. And Joseph Cotton goes to the lighthouse. She's not there, but then he finally finds her, and she wants him to go with her, and for them to both be ghosts together forever, because she said time was incorrect, but we can correct time's mistake by you killing yourself right now. And obviously, he's not a dumbass dipshit like the fucking bitch from Twilight 2, where she fucking throws herself off the cliff, fucking dumbass cunt. No, he is not that retarded. He actually thinks he's gonna save Jenny's ghost, though. So he thinks he can break the death curse, whatever, and it does not work. She dies again, and I guess she'll die over and over again, or I guess that was the last time she'd die. That part was not very clear, because it's like, well, if she can just keep coming back, then he can just keep on visiting her. You know what I mean? Like, he can have her watch him paint, whatever, and, you know, it's just really weird, but, and she lets him keep her scarf, and so then it turns out that painting he did of Jenny, that's his most famous painting, and he became a famous painter. That painting's in a museum, and that old woman says hi to some young girls who look at the painting, and it's just such a happy and amazing ending, and it is a very meaningful film. But it is sad, the fact that Joseph Cotten, the only way he could get with Jennifer Jones is if she was a ghost. And he doesn't even get with her. He only, like, kisses her a little tiny bit in his fucking tenement building apartment. But it was such a meaningful and powerful movie, the way that you have this artist, and he just needs that inspiration. He needs that flame that he doesn't have because he's just such a sad sack, and Jenny provides it for him. And it's just such a beautiful romance. The fact that even though they weren't meant to be in the physical realm, they were meant to be in the spiritual. And the fact that her ghost was able to, I don't know, like, find him, like, I don't know, like, I guess he found her. Like, it's really weird. But another weird thing is that she said that was her sandwich in the scarf. But the thing is that that's her scarf, that's her sandwich. Well, how could she get and eat a sandwich if she's a ghost? So I guess, like, it was someone else's sandwich or something, because later on in the movie, she says, "Thank you for the present," in the scarf, and then he gives her the scarf. And is it like, oh, is it because of the scarf is not actually hers? I don't know. But it was just such a beautiful movie. And the cinematography was fantastic. Even though I made fun of the green Hulk syrup waves at the end, this movie was really good looking. I mean, it was a beautiful movie. It was like every frame was a painting. In fact, there was a part where they had canvas fabric, and they had the picture of the movie underneath the canvas, and like a see-through type of thing layered on top of each other. And it was such a beautiful picture. I love this movie. I fucking love it. This is a perfect movie. I'm so glad that in 1948 they were allowed to make movies. And they were actually allowed to, like, do what they wanted to do. And they didn't just do shit all the time. And you know what? Something else, too, is that this movie, it basically ruined David Selznick's career. And it's sad, because this is a classic. Like, this is perfect. Like, literally, what is there wrong with this movie? It's so inspiring, too, because the movie really just tells you all about hope and faith. Because he doesn't know if Jenny will come back or not. He doesn't know if he'll ever see her again, and so he has to just rely on hope. And it pays off for him, because he becomes a famous painter. He becomes, like, the world's best painter, or one of the best painters. It's perfect. It's just so perfect. I would highly recommend it for aspiring artists of any kind, in any field, because the movie really is a hopeful movie. It's not a sad movie, it's a hopeful movie. Even though she dies and she's a ghost and everything, it's a hopeful movie. Because you know what? If Jennifer Jones's ghost came in this car right now, I would drop this phone and have some ghost sex. Okay? Like, I would take Jennifer Jones, and you know what? I'll do a portrait, and, you know, like, fuck yeah. Like, God, this guy was lucky. He got to have, he got a ghost soulmate. This soulmate came, and somehow they got together, even though they were not meant to be. Like, it's just such a fucking badass story. And it was so cool, the fact that he goes to where she dies just so that he can interact with her ghost before the moment of her death. It's such a romantic thing to do if you think about it, because that was the ghost's last memory. And so it was such a powerful, because the whole movie, she looked at that lighthouse like it was a sad, dark thing. But from now on, ironically, even though she's dead, she'll die over and over again. He made that last moment a happy one. He turned that sad event into a happy one. And that is why, and you know what, this movie, I gotta rate it in terms of food and get out of here because my phone's about out of battery. I could talk about this movie for hours, honestly. Like, I've just begun to talk about this amazing movie. And I didn't even talk about, okay, Lillian Gish, she had a very small role. She was fine. You know, she did her job. She was solid. She was just, you know, a little supporting actress bit part. And she was pretty good. You know, I liked her. It's just, she's just in one scene where she talks, and then the other scene, you just see a glimpse of her face. I wouldn't even call this a Lillian Gish movie. I would call it a fucking Joseph Sad Sack Cotton movie. But this movie, I swear, guys, I was not joking around when I said I love this movie. I give this movie a damn big-ass plate of spaghetti with butter, Parmesan cheese, breadsticks, garlic breadsticks. Oh, yeah. And then let's talk about the drink. I used to love Mr. Pibb. I don't know why. Like, I would go to Wendy's. Wendy's used to have Mr. Pibb until they betrayed Mr. Pibb for Dr. Pepper. And and I used to get Mr. Pibb every week. I would get Mr. Pibb or I get High C Fruit Punch. And now I just get a Frosty because, yeah. But I love getting Mr. Pibb. So this movie, though, this is spaghetti, Mr. Pibb, breadsticks. What would be a good appetizer with spaghetti? I would say you need something light. You need something light, healthy, to make you feel better about stuffing your face with those sexy-ass buttery noodles and tomato sauce with meat sauce and chunks of Italian, spicy Italian sausage. And Jennifer Jones, she is a spicy woman. She was a spicy woman. I bet that her ghost is like cringing right now at this review. Hopefully not, because it's all just because I love the movie so much. You know, just be glad I'm not like ranting about it and calling it trash and all that shit that I usually do. Because I wasn't even in the mood to watch a movie, and I watched this. I fucking loved it. And you know what else? This movie needs an appetizer of salad. Nice little salad, some ranch dressing. Yum, 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 yum. That's that old woman at the beginning. That old woman who complimented him, gave him that $12, gave him that little money, that little investment to lighten his spirit. What a badass old woman. Now that's the type of person, she should be president right now. That old woman, she should be president. I don't even know her name, but she should be president. I would vote for her ghost over the current president right now. And then for dessert, For dessert, you got a fucking big-ass slice of chocolate cake with fudge. Yeah! And that is Jennifer Jones. She is just nothing but fudge cake. Everything about her, everything. Her personality, her looks, her voice, her wardrobe. I mean, she is just the embodiment of sexy. She is the definition of hot. She is the sexiest movie star I have ever seen. She is even sexier than Audrey Hepburn. I didn't know that was possible, guys. I used to worship Audrey Hepburn. I used to say that Audrey Hepburn, she is bae. Not anymore. Jennifer Jones has destroyed Audrey Hepburn. And, Jennifer Jones, fuck yeah. So, I love this movie. I fucking love it. Joseph Cotten was good too. You know why? Because he was not boring. Like, everyone, when they talk about him, as far as I've seen, they're like, he's just a generic, boring guy. He's not generic at all. He had character. He had personality. He was a strong lead, and you really wanted to see him succeed. And that's what was most needed for this role. And another thing is, this movie kind of reminded me of Inside Llewyn Davis, if you guys have ever seen that. But this is a lot more hopeful and happy of a movie. Inside Llewyn Davis is the same movie, but sad. What you could do is you could watch that movie, and then you could watch this movie and feel happy. And you'll have a fucking badass double feature thanks to Marco from Sophie and Marco Dish Out on Movies. Please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of the Ghost Groomer, Joseph Cotten, this fucking movie, this badass masterpiece of a movie, this underappreciated, underrated gem, and the Portrait of Jennie. I want a Portrait of Jennie in my room. I want a Portrait of Jennie right now. And you know what? That brings me to my biggest flaw of the movie. I read that celebrities, they have copyright over their fucking faces. They're so full of themselves. They're so full of their own shit. They're so fucking uptight. Fucking Hollywood people. They got copyright on their own dicks. They got copyright on their own bodies. So if you had a picture, apparently, this is just as far as I read, if you have a picture of a celebrity in your movie just like hanging on the wall in the background, apparently that would be copyright infringement of a celebrity. I mean, what a bunch of shit. What a bunch of complete nonsense. So, wait, what? And so, my point is that Joseph Cotten, he made all of his money, he made all of his riches, his rags to riches story is that he painted Jennie Applebottom, Jennie Appletons, and he painted a portrait of her likeness, her fucking likeness. And so someone else, I guess, owns the rights to her likeness. And so he should have gotten sued, apparently, as far as I've read. Like, you can't paint someone because you're using their likeness. You're using their likeness. Like, remember when that bitch Lindsay Lohan sued Rockstar for, quote-unquote, using her face for GTA 4, whatever the fuck that was? Remember that bullshit? That is where we've gotten to. These celebrities need to take a hike. These celebrities need to jump off a fucking cliff in the middle of a whole chocolate syrup tsunami and get the hell out of here and let Jennifer Jones come back. Let someone like Jennifer Jones come back, because Jennifer Jones, she is the GOAT. She is the star of Hollywood. But that was the one thing that confused me too, is that, how could he make all this money off of a picture of someone whose quote-unquote likeness rights he doesn't have a hold of? How could he make all that money off of her when he doesn't have the rights to her? That sounds bad. Anyways, goodbye, everybody. See you soon. Go Portrait of fucking Jennie. Go watch that movie now. It's free on YouTube. I'll watch it again. I don't care. I love this movie. I fucking love it. I am ready to get a Portrait of Jennie on my wall right now. Goodbye, everybody.